What's up, everybody? This is NBA at the Bar, and we're your host. I'm TA.
And this is Uncle Chuck.
And we are back to talk about some NBA action. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the very end of the season. Mm-hmm. We've been going through this entire season together, seeing all the highs and the lows of the different teams and the different players, and it's all coming to a culmination right now. And a whole lot of good stuff is coming about that, you know, as we get to the playoffs that we're going to sit over and dive deep into. But before we do that, I need y'all to do me a favor. As you know, I need you to like, download, and subscribe. Let's do that for me right now. Like, download, and subscribe. And also, this unbelievable show that you guys tune into every single week is being brought to you by ATV Media Network. And we are drinking something we haven't drunk in quite some time, and I forgot how bomb it is. It's that Reve Blue.
Yes, sir.
If y'all don't know about that, go find that Reve Blue. It is silky smooth, and it will be back next week. I can guarantee you that.
You're right.
But what's up, Mr. Chuck? What's the word? What's cracking?
It's that time.
Let's talk because
going on.
You know it's funny. You've been sitting over here saying, I can't wait till I get to this NBA. I can't wait till we get to this NBA. So now that we're here, let's quickly talk about some new things that have come about in the NBA. And one of the biggest ones is, last year's MVP finally getting back after injury. And we got Embiid back with the Philadelphia 76ers. They gave up the booty for 3/4 of the season since he's been hurt and fell all the way from the 3 seed, and now they're all the way down to what, the 8 or 7 seed. So, but they're playing extremely well now. You know, Embiid shook off the rust. Maxey's sitting over here having career highs, and so everything is blending together. And so, really, what the thought process is do you think this team could have, that season very similar to the Lakers last year, where they had a low seed going into the playoffs, was able to battle and fight their way up to the conference championship? You think they got it in there?
Man, come on now. Embiid's a bad man. And like you said, all you do is you just need that matchup. Maybe we don't hit the Celtics from the get-go. Maybe we get a couple other teams. But Embiid plus Maxey, and Maxey's playing some of the best ball of his career right now. He's looking like a animal, kind of like a De'Aaron Fox type player who's kind of transitioned from being, a young, up-and-coming player to a absolute beast and superstar in this league. So I don't think you can deny with them two together what the possibilities are. You throw in Tobias Harris, you get him going along with the other players, because they got some other decent players around them as far as 3-and-D guys. And come playoff time, those guys are always crucial to winning, playoff basketball. And Embiid is a monster, man. He's just got to stay healthy.
He's a star, and I think that's what kind of separates them from almost everybody else. So obviously you got the Milwaukee Bucks in there, but for whatever reason, kind of just like last year with Luka and Kyrie, and they didn't quite mesh together yet. I think you're seeing the same thing happen with Giannis and Dame. They're just not quite meshing. I used to be a fan, or used to think Doc Rivers was a good coach, but obviously this man is not a good coach. He's mediocre at best. And here's what's a shame. This is what happens when you sit over here and make it happen too quickly. They sit over here and fired their coach that they had, that it might not have been perfect. He might have been a first-year coach, so he's adjusting. But what he was getting wins, and that's what this is all about.
Right, absolutely.
You fire him when they were,
number two, that was number one, number two.
Yeah, number one, number two. And you fire him talking about it's just not right, and it doesn't seem like it's getting better, to bring in another coach that's sitting over and basically playing 500 ball on a team that should be a 1 or 2 seed.
Right.
They should be definitely up there and much closer than they are with the Celtics. So, unfortunately, that opens up that window because they're not playing like they should be. And so that means that Philly, if they can get that matchup where they're playing them instead of playing the Celtics in that first round, that right there then changes the whole dynamics of the Eastern Conference playoff scheme. So, yeah, I think they can. You think they can?
I think they can. I think they can get them.
But it all depends on their seeding. If they have to play the Celtics first, I don't quite think they got everything together to beat them in that first round, even though the Celtics don't want to play them in the first round.
Right.
But I still don't think they got enough to beat the Celtics in the first round, but to meet them later on in the second or in the third round in the conference finals, I think they can, again, get that cohesion and get that rust off to kind of bring it all together, because Maxey is playing like a monster. As long as he can stay healthy, as long as Embiid can stay healthy, I think those two together, almost anything can happen. They probably still one more player away from being able to really dominate, but they're almost there.
Nah, I agree. And I think the fact that Doc, I've never liked Doc. I think he's horrible at making adjustments in crucial games. Like something just ain't right for Doc. So when you add that and then you get that matchup, I think, Embiid, you can't match up with Embiid anyway. I don't think Milwaukee has nobody to match up. You can kind of throw, maybe throw Giannis and you throw, the twin at him a little bit, Brook. But you don't really have anybody to match up with him. And I don't think you have anybody to match up with Maxey at this point no more, because you let Drew go. Dame's not about playing no defense. He's about getting buckets. Always has been at the end of the day. So that's a problem. That's a problem if they get that matchup. I don't want that one.
No,
I don't want that one. You know what? Looking at that matchup is the same way I felt about the Lakers last year when I looked at the matchups they had early.
Right.
And I was like, oh, we good. We good. I like this matchup too. Golden State. Oh, yeah, I like that matchup. That's a good matchup. We can beat all that. So we'll see.
We'll see how it falls. Again, next week, these answers are going to be pretty much worked out.
Picture
and going to be clear. Right, the picture's going to be clear next week. So I look forward to that. But then, the other one I got for you is Cat. Cat has just been cleared as of today, sitting over and cleared for 5-on-5, and should be back by the last game or the first game of the playoffs or the last game of the season. So his return is imminent, and the team is done a great job at just kind of keeping their head above water, just kind of maintaining and still keeping themselves in that mix.
Right.
Matter of fact, as of shooting today, they have the number one spot without Cat.
Exactly.
So, does this team have enough in them with Cat coming back to sit over here and beat the Nuggets?
I don't know. I still think they may be like a year away. I think you need something. It's something missing from them. I don't know about you. I think it's something missing. Even with Anthony Edwards' ascension to being one of the top players in the league. Big Cat has always been, one of the top players in the league. Karl Anthony Towns has always been one of the best. I just don't like that Rudy Gobert thing. If you could take him out and give me something that offensively is going to give you something and defensively still, I think I'd be riding with him. I think
rather than the defensive player of the year,
he's terrible.
Now, I'm not a Gobert fan, but being the defensive player of the year gives them a benefit, gives them a piece that almost nobody in the league, other than like San Antonio, which it don't matter, in terms of such a aggressive and such a pervasive defensive presence.
Correct.
And so, offensively, he doesn't do anything for you. But when you have an offensive wing and offensive big, that's what makes it unique. Is that it's like, sometimes you can have the guard and the small forward, but they still kind of like front court. You know what I'm saying?
So
or back court.
Contrast.
But when you have that contrast of two scores like that, I think that's what makes it all work. Allow them to sit over and remain in the top 2, top 3 from the very first week of the season all the way to now. They've been consistently at that level, and they've actually held the number 1 spot in the West with how the team's configured longer than anybody else other than the Celtics in the entire league. So I think that dichotomy works for them for whatever reason. One more extra player, but eliminating Gobert, I think, completely changes this team. I think they are not as threatening, and they couldn't maintain that without having a defensive presence, kind of like Dennis Rodman.
I agree with you in a sense, but if you look at teams that had defensive player of the years, those dudes was arguably one of the top 2 at their position. By it was bar none. It was no really dispute. I think Rudy Gobert at this point in stage in his career, when you're talking about Wemby entering in the conversation for defensive player of the year as a rookie, and he's challenging a guy who's been in the league and has done it, to me it says, you know what, like, you're cool, like, you're good, and we appreciate what you do. But are you as menacing as a player? Like, do we really fear you? Are people really scared to go to the hole when they say Rudy? Like, I don't know.
But that lack of fear is why he's able to sit over here and still win when he shouldn't be.
True, but in the same point in time, that lack of fear is what allows players to get confidence and attack him when this is what we only thing you on the court for. To protect our backs at the end of the day. Hey, maybe and I think Minnesota as a team is a pretty good defensive team. Athletically, they have a lot of good players who can play good defense. But for me, it's just him. Because I like when Reed is played, when they pull him out, and it's a good mix between him and Towns, what they bring to the table, because they can both defend, but at the same point in time, they give you something offensively. I think you just need something, especially in the West when it comes to playoff basketball. I mean, you gotta ain't no big man in the West playing if you can't give me no buckets. Nobody. Ain't nobody playing.
Well, this is the one thing that we're gonna be able to say. One, the season-long record counters what you're saying. But I think postseason is what matters.
It's a different style of basketball.
It's a different style of basketball. So we'll be able to see how this team is currently constructed. Are they built to win or win the big deal? Like, can they get to at least to the conference finals?
Right.
If they can't get to the conference finals, then everything that you're saying is 110% correct. But if they do get to the conference finals, then you have to look at this team and say, okay, it's constructed uniquely, but that uniqueness is kind of what allows them to be special.
I got you.
And obviously results is all that matters.
We're going to see. Like I said, as a Lakers fan, when we had to play him in the play-in game, I was like, oh, get him out of here. Get him my barbecue chicken.
I mean, he going to get dunked on and all that
barbecue
shit.
Chicken.
But here's what says, you brought up Wemby. And again, we can't use the narrative of Wemby being a rookie and how could he be up there.
Because he's been a pro. Is that what you
No, because Nick Rose 7'4". He's 7'4".
Special.
7'4" and coordinated and special and been a professional and young and still lively legs.
Yes.
This is an alien, just like your shoe braided. He's a true alien. So talking about Wemby, I came into this season dismissing Wemby prior to the season, seeing some preseason games. You remember they had in Vegas?
I went and watched him in Vegas.
And he over here looking like Bambi out there.
Right.
But then what made me say, is watching the maturation of Wemby from those Las Vegas games to his first couple of games. And it was like, oh shit,
night and day.
He got better in just that small span of time. He got comfortable. He got his legs up under him very quickly. So I was like, okay, so if that can happen in that short period of time, what's going to happen in this full-on 82-game season? And what we've been able to witness is him from just being a shot blocking specialist, his minutes being held down, him not quite willing to take the mantle and say, I'm the motherfucking man in the shooting. Right. To now, you see him sitting over here, he's doing all the things we saw him do in France. He's now doing that in the NBA because he has a confidence and he's earned the trust of his team and obviously his coach and what have you. So the question I got for you is, after watching Wemby's entire rookie season and Chet's, because remember when they came in, when the season started, it was them two. There's actually a little bit of bad blood there. So, and Chet was kind of perceived and looked at as he was actually the motherfucker. He was the main dude. And Wemby needs to take a backseat to him because Chet really should be a sophomore, but he's a rookie. And he had such a heralded college career. When you look at those two now, when Wemby's got a year up under his belt, Chet's got his first year under his belt, who do you got now?
I got to be honest with you, man. First 10, 15, 20 games, 30 games. And even as I watched Oklahoma ascend, I had to be like, I'm going with Chet. Like, Chet seems like he's bringing a lot to the table. But like you said, he came in there with the Bambi legs, a little Similac behind the scenes. He wasn't really quite ready, for the physicality of the NBA game. The up and down, this is what we do. So as he made that transition and he kind of understood what do I need to get better at and what can I use to my advantage, as a player now so that I can be more dominant or more assertive or, able to control these ball games in every way that I possibly can. And I think that's the thing that's special about Wemby. he can control the game in a lot of different ways. He's gonna play defense. It's not a thing for this dude to get like 8, 9 blocks just because he's so active and he's 7'4". But like you said, he has bounce, he has coordination, so he's not struggling like a lot of these dudes come in. Most of the time you get a guy 7'4", you are very, very concerned about how he moves. Is he gonna trip over his foot, trying to make a move like.
Or get hurt.
Yes, just get hurt doing something simple. And he's very fluid. I would love to say that, he looks like an American basketball player with European skill set as far as what he brings.
Tendencies,
exactly.
without a doubt.
He does. He's not a selfish player, but he still is able to dominate a ball game. And I think just like a Tim Duncan, I think eventually as they build around this cat, for me, yeah, he is exactly what I thought he was. Because I'm telling you, I was there in the NBA Summer League and I watched it. I was like,
right. I wasn't sold yet.
No, I wasn't sold. I didn't see much, but he didn't play much, and he didn't get a chance to get a little a good taste of that NBA game. So watching him, I'm sold, man. I'm like, dude, this dude is the truth.
You know what has to be extremely challenging and difficult for Chet to accept is he just happened to come into the league, get hurt to where he could have avoided all this shit if he didn't get hurt and played the previous year. Now, then it would have been like, okay, this thing had a great, then it could have been like, this dude had a great year. But then what happens is that Wemby, they would have been comparing his previous year's stats, right?
True.
But what happens is now because he got hurt, they actually came in
head to head
simultaneously. And I still am not a big believer in, I got hurt preseason, so I'm a rookie now, and everybody want to throw around that rookie word. No, you're not a rookie. You a sophomore.
You are a sophomore. You had a whole year to work.
You had a whole year to work, whole year to be in this environment and to get the tutelage and the learning and the coaching.
Right.
So I don't like how they categorize him as a rookie. I thought that was kind of trying to give him a leg up.
Right.
To be able to compete in the world because he was supposed to be, that American, or not Giannis, but that American, what's my man from Denver, Jokic.
Oh, okay.
He's supposed to be like the American Jokic. But what I feel bad for him is he had a great year.
He did.
He did his thing. And there was nothing and I've never been a Chet fan. I'm a Chet fan now. I wasn't a Chet fan at Gonzaga and all that.
Okay.
And part of it is I went to Pepperdine and, what I'm saying, Gonzaga, that's a rival.
Right.
But I was never a big fan of Chet in college.
Okay.
But I am a Chet fan as an Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's nothing that he just did, but we just saw the different levels. It's levels to this shit.
It is levels to this
and you see Wimby taller than him doing things that Chet possibly can't do, and just the defensive impact that he's made. He's sitting over here. I've heard statistics over the course of the season of what Wemby is doing defensively that are like combining the next 10 people together.
Right.
And he's still beating them. So he's such an enigma.
True.
That I got to go with Wemby. Again, you got Chet with one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
And I think he is a big part of them being one of the best teams in the league. But imagine if you switched. I don't know if Jokic could have dealt with that team if Wemby was on that team.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, people don't talk about that.
That's a good question.
Forget about what San Antonio would be. What would the Oklahoma Thunder be with Wemby on there instead of Chet? It would be a whole different ball game. And guess what? Going back to your argument with the Wolves, the T-Wolves. Gobert would have been getting bars. He couldn't have been able. You understand what I'm saying? It's a whole different monster. Gobert is over here and giving Chet some hard games.
Oh, Chet's not ready for that though. He ain't ready for it.
But he's gonna be. He's gonna be a phenomenal special player. But it's funny how time is gonna tell.
We'll see.
Time is gonna tell. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
And we're having the opportunity to see now. But I brought up a little Jokic, and when you talk about European players and sitting over here getting it cracking and getting busy,
yes, sir.
We've had an opportunity to watch a phenomenal European prospect in Luka that has done amazing shit, in his career. Hasn't won anything, but nonetheless has done amazing shit. And what we're seeing in these past 2.5, 3 weeks is a player that found his Robin to his Batman, and that Robin being comfortable in that role where he wasn't comfortable in that role when he was with LeBron years ago, but is mature, has grown comfortable and confident in his own skin, and with the world, slapping him in the face, and he's been humbled, and you see them playing in a way that they didn't play last year, which gives me belief for Giannis and Dame. Because what happens in that first year, like with Luka and Kyrie,
it didn't look like
it didn't look that great. It was like, is this going to even work? To see it a year later, be very fluid, very phenomenal, very comfortable, very. It seems like the two are know their distinct roles.
Gotcha.
And I think that'll happen with them. But staying on Luka, Dallas has been playing some unbelievable ball. If I'm not mistaken, in their last 20 games, they maybe have lost 2 or 3 games in the last 20.
That sounds about
right.
Been
making tremendous moves up the board at the right time of the season. Do you think this team, how it's currently constructed with 2 Hall of Famers playing out of their minds and playing homogeneously together, like completely together, can this team, even though it's not the most star-studded, it's not the most talented team, but they have 2 unbelievably talented players, can this team get to the Western Conference Finals?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. First and foremost, I got to say I was a Luka guy from almost the jump. From the jump.
And I wasn't. So
I'm just being honest with you. I feel like when you strip somebody of all the athletic things that make you special, and that's all you have left is your skill set, and you're still able to dominate. I don't mean good. I mean dominate. There's a whole different, it's levels to this. And I feel like when you're on that type level, like I feel like if Kobe wasn't, the greatest jumper, he didn't have athletic, he was still going to be a great basketball player at the end of the day.
And Kobe wasn't that athletic. He was athletic, but he wasn't that athletic.
Yeah, he wasn't
Tracy McGrady or any of them cats. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree with you.
I think that's big. So when you're able to take that skill set and combine it with just that, professionalism and I work hard at what I do. And then that size, and then you couple that with Kyrie and what he brings to the table as a closer, cold-hearted,
and special, and he's
cold,
special,
and he's cold. He's one of the greatest ball handlers we've ever seen, one of the greatest finishers we've ever seen, one of the greatest closers we've ever seen in the game, despite all the other things and the off-court issues, and But as a basketball player, oh man, he's very special to watch, and I think what you're saying is very true in regards to his. The situation with LeBron and be able to understand as I've gotten older, like, man, I got to cherish these moments and playing with these great players, because it doesn't come along, a whole lot. And I think he learned a whole lot from that LeBron situation as far as embracing that next role is saying, hey, maybe I'm not, playing, A, but I'm going to be playing, 1B, and that's
playing
cool.
big boy ball, because big boy ball is played in the very latter stages of the game. It is
when you haven't even had 14 shots, and we just need 1 bucket.
And you worried about back in the day, he was worried about that bullshit, and he got his opportunity to sit over here and be the man, and he saw the grass ain't always greener on the other side. That ain't as easy as it kind of seems.
Right. I don't think you want that type of scrutiny.
And you don't, it's not just the scrutiny, it's the pressure. It's LeBron, when you're kind of like born in it.
Right.
The pressure has just kind of been a part of his life always. It's different when you haven't.
Right.
When you've been a part of teams like how he was in Duke.
Right.
And then you're trying to now take that pressure and put it on your shoulders with your light in the ass self. It's a whole different level of pressure. I think he felt that burden and said, you know what? I'm good. That's not fun.
Yeah, that ain't for me.
I just want to sit over and play this game and have fun. I've been made $500 million. It's all about having fun, and hopefully I can win. And the only way I can win is being paired up with another
who's a
special
dog.
individual. And so he got paired up with that individual. And to his credit, he's finding and has found a way to make that productive, efficient, and working like he never sought out prior to this. You know what I'm saying?
And I think the people are always going to respect him in the league because of his skill set. And I'm like, that's all you really have to rely on.
He's staying 10 toes down.
Right.
I think, or he attempted to stand 10 toes down.
For the most part, as far as basketball is concerned.
No, I'm not about in terms of personal, because that's really where you gain the respect for a man. And so, he attempted to do that, and people just respect standing on principle.
I think the thing about it is just not alienating yourself from the team. And I think he used to do that all the time.
Unequivocally,
and I used to be like, dude, you are, you're causing division amongst your teammates, because on one thing, they have to come to your defense on some level, especially publicly. When you used to hear KD come and talk, you could tell at the end of the day, he was like, man, fuck this nigga. But at the same point in time, on a public level, you like, okay, I got to respect Kyrie for his ideas, and, I support him as a teammate, woo, 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 woo. But at the end of the day, you know how he was really feeling. Like, come on, man, this ain't it. Like, you didn't even have to bring this type of energy, that type of spotlight to us as a team.
I don't think he wanted to. I think he just tried to live in his truth. And what you have to understand and figure out, or what individuals have to understand in this world, in this society, individuals like himself, like ourselves, can't necessarily do that.
No.
And I think what gave him the light bulb, preferably going on in his head, is when he was with a white counterpart that didn't share his views, that didn't come from his plight, that didn't see the world through the same lenses that he did, and he was forced to sit over here and have to step out of his world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because before, you think, oh yeah, these cats are going to be with me, or these cats are going to understand because,
just because.
and then when you're not afforded that luxury to even think that, then you have to be strategic.
You do.
You follow what I'm saying? When you have a counterpart, a counterpart that doesn't look like you, that doesn't have the same experiences as you, then you have to start looking at the game differently, and that's just all a part of the maturation process. And so when you see a mature Kyrie,
it looks different.
It looks different.
It just looks different.
It looks different.
And let me say this. Any basketball player that thinks you're getting paid this money just to play basketball, you're a fool. Like, you're a fool. There is a whole lot of things that entail playing for an organization, because you represent them, not only on the court, but when you step off the court, unfortunately and fortunately, you're still representing this team. And the moment you tarnish my brand, or you make me look bad, I said, like, to my kids all the time, dude, man, don't be going out there making us look bad. Like, come on, man, you got my last name. Like, you're going in environments where I'm already known. So there's a level of expectation as far as, this is how we move, this is what we do. So when you do that, that bullshit, dude, come on now. Now, not only are you fucking with your money, but you fucking with my money. And there lies the problem. And I think a lot of these NBA players have to understand. And I think it's kind of clicked for me. Like, man, you know what? I get it. And I have to kind of just pick and choose my shots a little better than what I have as far as my career is concerned. And he never did that. And I just be like, oh my gosh.
So not to lose focus on the ultimate question is this a team with its two stars, how it's currently constructed? Is this a team with how they're playing right now that can get to the conference finals?
I would like to believe, if everybody's clicking on all cylinders, possibly. That's not a matchup that I would like to have. I don't want to play Dallas necessarily, because you have one of the best players in the league and you have one of the best closers in the league. So that is
that's a very good point.
That is a recipe.
That was very similar to what he had with
LeBron. Yeah, I'm just gonna get you to the end of the game, and then I'll defer to you at the end of the game, because you're one of the best at it. Period. And it worked. Not to say that Luka is LeBron, but what I will say is he has a knack of controlling the game.
Well, is one of the best players then versus
one of the best players now.
And so there is a correlation there.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I feel like that it's a possibility. I wouldn't want the Lakers to have to play them.
Right.
Those one of those teams like them in Sacramento, that's not the matchup that we're looking at because the best players on their team are perimeter players. And that's not necessarily our strength as far as defensively. We're not the greatest defense. You know, we use size, you know, we're strong at the rim, and that's what we're looking to play. So as far as playing like a Jokic or something like that, it makes more sense for us. Playing with a Rudy Gobert in the middle as opposed to who do they have? I think Gafford or something is who they kind of swapped out Power with. And it opens up the court so much. And these guys are running up and down the court, you know, running and gunning and having fun. Like, that's a lot to deal with. And we're not a running and gunning team.
No.
So, yeah, I don't like it. I think they do have a chance because you got to remember, Luka, did he make it to the Western Conference Finals?
He did at one point in time. Yeah, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. You figuring he was young and he made it to the Western Conference Finals. Did he beat the Clippers or did he take the Clippers? He lost to the Clippers, I want to say, the first time he came back this next year and beat the Clippers. That, to me, says a whole lot about you as a player. That's when I was looking and I'm like, dude, are y'all watching this shit? Like, you know, the Clippers throwing everything they got. You got Kawhi, you know, you got all these first-team all-defensive players, and they're all taking their shots at him. He's cooking everybody. Like, no, this ain't it.
But look, it's so funny you talk about the Clippers. It's so funny how these worlds interject. Now, obviously, in the Western Conference, all these teams are going to interject. But these stories with the great teams, with the great players that are on individual teams, how they intersect, bring storylines years later. So that was years ago that took place. But we have an opportunity to now bring that forward because when you talk about them being 5, the Clippers being 4, and one, hats off to the Clippers finding a way to make this work when we all thought initially that was going to be a stone cold mystery. I was hoping, but the result initially was this is going to be a stone cold. And I just kind of just preached patience, hoping and wishing that it was going to work, and then to watch it unfold and start to work, then take another downturn, and then they worked some more, took another downturn, and kind of fixed it, put it together, back together again, and it's working again. Now, when you have multiple dips like that, it is disconcerting,
right? Because
you have to expect that this ain't going to be the last one. If there's another one, but what happens is that next one comes during the playoffs. But you also have an opportunity here to where something special can take place. You know, the Clippers and their owner are building a phenomenal,
beautiful.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, y'all don't even understand.
Beautiful.
This arena is about to be built. If you ever have an opportunity to go watch a basketball game in an arena completely different than any other arena in the country, come next year and come watch this. It's very similar to a football stadium.
It's like a stadium,
very similar to SoFi, which is the most unbelievable football destination.
Right across the street.
Right there. But I mean, like, we're going to be at the very first game. Like, no bullshit. We're going to be at the very first home game right now and take a picture, and we're going to sit over here and post and all that. We're going to church from there. But how unbelievable would it be for the Clippers to find some kind of way, some type of magic to get to the championship and actually win, because there's so much urgency with the senior players on that team, and then to settle and open up that unbelievable place,
crazy,
with a banner.
Crazy.
I mean, that's like, you know, Hollywood, Goldilocks.
That's all that. That's scripted, unscripted, whatever you want to call it. That's a match made in heaven. Whatever.
It can only be that unbelievable. And so the question is like, can they make that magic happen? It looks like they're going to secure the 4th seed going into this playoffs next week. Is it possible? Is this a team with 4? I don't think we've ever seen 4
Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famers on one team, with 3 of the 4 not having a championship and needing a championship, and the only thing that's separating them from being remembered in the halls of the greats is the halls of the greats all have championships and they don't. It's a ring.
Yeah.
Is this a team because of how hard they worked and stayed together and the phenomenal coaching they have from Tyronn Lue, is this a team that can sit over and do something special and get there?
Hey, I like them. I like their chances only because of the seeding. And then you have Tyronn Lue, who's one of the best. I think he's one of the best coaches who doesn't even get the credit that he deserves for being one of the best coaches. I think anytime you can manage like personalities and you have, Westbrook and still you got Kawhi, these dudes are on the total opposite ends of the spectrum as far as what they portray publicly. Now, I don't know them in the locker room, but it seems like, that's a lot to deal with. And then you throw in Hard in the mix. From a public standpoint, he's he's a whole lot to deal with. You know what I'm saying? He's a stone cold, like
stone cold.
It's you never know what you're gonna get. Phenomenal player, but you just never know what you're gonna get out that dude. You got Paul George, who's definitely pretty consistent, but for whatever reason, it's never quite added up, or the ball's never bounced this way. I could say he's been in some great positions to ultimately almost make it to a ship, even as a young player. With when he was with the Pacers, they were this close from beating LeBron, which says a lot. And it just didn't work out right. You come back from the leg injury, you're playing, you bounce around, a couple of times. Now you're in this position, so you don't get that.
It's funny
that a lot.
What his career would have been without that leg injury, and it was gruesome. I saw that live. It was that
terrible.
Motherfucker was gruesome
on running down.
Oh my Lord, have mercy! I still remember that. So what his career would have been, and I remember people forget about this. He used to be crying that LeBron wouldn't like take him under his wing. He was wanting because he was supposed to be like the next one. He was uber athletic before that injury.
Oh, he was.
Like uber.
He was. I told you that team almost beat LeBron.
Yeah,
to the shit.
and they used to, it used to be a thing that LeBron was nervous about this dude, Paul George, because he was going to be the next. So LeBron was like, "Hey, I'm not going to wrap my arm around you because you too close to me." That's how close Paul George was. And an injury completely changed his career forever. But nonetheless, a player of that magnitude has the opportunity or deserves the opportunity to sit over here and have his swan song.
Right. A new chapter.
Harden deserves, even though he's tricked it off and choked it, he deserves his contribution to the game.
Absolutely.
And Westbrook, we can't,
him too.
I literally saw, in my opinion, the realest, I wouldn't say the best, but the realest motherfucking game I ever seen was his 2020 when Nipsey died. His 2020 game was the realest shit I've ever seen in my life in professional sport. 2020? Come on.
That don't happen.
20. You tell me another time you know of a 2020 and to call it,
right,
and to say my homeboy from sits over here and I'm having a 2020 game and do it. I ain't never seen it in my life.
And you'll never see it again.
That was the realest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I saw that live. Or I wasn't there, but I mean, I saw it on TV live.
Right?
Like I was cheering for it. And now I'm gangster when the fucking coach was so goofy, didn't even know what he was doing.
Exactly.
And the coach sits over here and tries to pull him out. And he had the wherewithal and the gumption and the balls and sit over and say, "What the fuck you talking about?" I'm going back out there to finish him. It's just one of the really shits ever. So, there's a whole lot riding on this team. Obviously, far above and beyond just their opening up a new stadium.
True.
That's not the catalyst to why their motivation to go win a championship. I think that's the culmination. That's like the bow on the gift, on the cake or on the gift. That's not the catalyst of why they all have personal reasons.
Yes, it's a lot of motivation.
They deserve and earn it. And to sit over here and find a way to be in this position 4 out with OKC being young, with the Timberwolves and Cat being hurt, and you got Ant-Man that's young, and then you got your boy that you don't even believe even deserves to be there. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a obviously a opening, a vortex, for them to get them. And then just the Nuggets, are they truly a dynasty? Is Denver basketball gonna really sit over here and be a Lakers, a Chicago, a
As far as
Boston,
legacy,
right? As
dynasty.
far as a legacy and a dynasty,
Yeah.
like I don't care who they got. Is this city? Is this town? Is this energy really have enough? So there's so, which means that they're susceptible if it's a waiver. Like
Right.
they're susceptible to not being a dynasty, being knocked off,
Mhm.
and allowing this team, because there's so much history
Right.
to galvanize them and push them
It
forward.
does.
Can they do a magical season and do something special that'll keep them in the history books and keep them spoken on forever?
If they do, I guarantee you it will, because you in La La Land. You in La La Land. We never let you forget what we do in La La Land, and we just don't do it. We don't do it, and to open up that new stadium with a championship. Oh my goodness. Like we were saying, I think that's worth 30, 40, 400, 300, 600 million just to the league in itself. Just because they won a championship. Because now you get to come and open up that stadium, and you're going to have all the press and all those international press to come and open up that stadium. That's a lot of money on the line. I don't know. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
so it's going to be interesting. And there's so many questions that are going to be answered a week from now. I just can't wait so where we really know how shit falls and how the brackets fall and all that. So, we're going to broach this again in the ensuing weeks. But I just think there might be something magical conjuring itself up for a cat like Ballmer that has been a type of owner to sit over here and say, I'm going to create special in this league and spend the money. And so there has to be a payoff. There has to be a reward for going out. You're talking about he didn't buy the Lakers or the Celtics. He bought the Clippers. One of the most downtrodden, most uneventful, ineffective, non-winning teams in NBA history.
Exactly.
So and going all in.
I like him as an owner.
I love him as an owner, without a doubt. So as we wind down this show, we got seasons create surprises, because we all think one thing at the beginning of the season, and like with Philly, injury took that season off track. In other senses, you have like New Orleans that sit over here and played a whole lot better than probably any of us ever thought. Or Timberwolves that none of us thought Ant-Man was going to have this type of season to be able to lead this team in that way. Or the OKC Thunder, who we never thought was going to sit over here and perform so well for so long, being so young.
Not early on. I didn't see it.
So my question for you is from a West Coast perspective, as we come to the end of the season, which team was the greatest surprise for you?
It had to be OKC.
Really?
For me, it had to be OKC. I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is cool. But I didn't know how cool he was.
Imagine the Clippers captain,
dude. But
but everything you got to make these trades and all that shit.
It has to. It has to happen in order for the team
how
to
would
look
happen,
how it looks.
right?
But just looking at how OKC was able to be patient, we're not going to rush the process. We're going to pick and choose our shots. And then
very impressive.
They were, and they've done this. They've already shown that they can do it. Sam Presti showed that he did it with KD and Westbrook and Harden. It's crazy to be able to put together in the draft, KD, Harden, and Westbrook. Like that's unheard of. And then Ibaka. These are all dudes that you draft.
And there are other people too that were lesser players, but still were part of the greatness of that team.
Right.
And what the unfortunate point is they weren't able to win with that such a great team that they brought together, but it was also their first time. So you learn.
Right.
But it also was a demonstration of the talent of the leadership that was able to draft. These players have such an eagle eye to find. You're talking about they found 3 Hall of Famers.
Right. And we're able to draft. No trades, no nothing. Yeah. We was just boom.
But they've done it again.
Exactly. as far as now they might not have drafted all these guys, but they were able to put the pieces together to make it fit. I didn't see it when they got Shy. I was like, okay, that's cool.
But trading is that when people become GMs, they become GMs based off of their scouting.
Correct.
It's not based off of how great of deals they do because they don't do the deals at that stage until you become the GM to actually make.
Right.
So they had that part, and they've done that with Chet and so on and so forth. Part of that is, of course, you're high up in the shit. Of course you are.
Right.
But I think the skill that they learned in this group was the trading aspect. So now you have the scouting side, and you have the ability to translate your keen insight from scouting and bring into the trade. And so, like you said, it's just like, oh my.
And then you figure they got Shy. They were able to get draft picks to come with Shy. So,
which is crazy.
It was like, okay, so it ain't like we didn't get swindled at all, and a lot of people looked at that deal immediately and thought they got swindled.
A potential MVP.
Exactly.
With trade. Like, that's larceny. That's like cats sit over here and come sit over here and strong arm you and put your arm behind your back.
It's one of them deals. It's like one of them Paul Gasol deals. Like, man, y'all Jerry just like, here, man, y'all can have Paul Gasol. Go ahead and win some championship. Like, you don't even got to give up a whole lot for him. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, they were able to put the pieces together really, really quick. Yeah. It wasn't, I thought that was going to be like a 5-6 year, rebuild, but you saw it coming together, player by player. The pieces mattered. They had a little international, they didn't mind where they went to find that player as long as it worked.
Right.
And I think that accelerated, that whole learning period, that curve. I think this playoffs is going to be a great situation for them because they're going to get a lot of experience. And I think in the coming years, they're going to be a problem just based on it.
They've set themselves up to move past the first. And so when you talk about playoff experience and what that means is two things. One is the speed of the game quickens. The urgency of the game heightens.
True.
So you have to live through that and feel it to get comfortable with it.
I agree.
So that's one level of the deal, right? And the next level is simply winning. What is it like when everything is heightened?
Right.
When you're young and you're not used to it, and you rise to the occasion or you fold. One of the two happens.
It does.
And so when you have an opportunity, when you position yourself high, it's one thing to have this team and they're in the 5th, 6th, or 7th.
Different level.
And they're coming from the bottom. They're the underdog playing a team that's perceived to be better than them. When you have the opportunity in the first round to sit over here and be the favorite, playing an underdog, playing a team that's probably lesser than you, you have a ability to feel it, but to also to experience the win. And so that's the second level of the maturation is understanding how to win in that environment. Yeah. Well, it's far more difficult when you're the underdog.
Right.
It's more realistic or feasible when you're the
top dog,
the expected, right?
Predator, I guess.
So, be it that they have an opportunity to be in it in the playoffs off jump with such a young team, and number two, be in a position to win a series. Those two things combined are so phenomenal in terms of the quote unquote experience a young team like this needs to galvanize them to the next level next year. Because don't forget, there's still drafts to come. There's still free agency to come. So this team effectively, essentially, if the leadership has done this well thus far,
just imagine,
then we have to expect that they're going to continue to draft and find free agents that are going to be able to improve this team. So you have a team that should be better next year with more experience. So really the danger comes next year, like, oh my God.
We have 1 year of experience.
These cats are going to be outrageous if they continue to draft and to find free agent, the right free agents or the right trades to enhance the team from their current situation. So super excited about that. But also I got a question for you. The East Coast East Coast did the typical East Coast shit in the NBA, which is, they're the East Coast was a lesser product, a lesser realm than the West Coast. But what's a little bit unique this year is that you had a dominant team. So, you always have a good team in the East. And if they had LeBron, then you had action at winning the championship. But it was a 50-50. You could lose the championship because the whole East was boo-boo. Well, now you have a team in the Boston Celtics that are phenomenal.
Right, they put a gap.
So you have one phenomenal team 15 games ahead of the number 2 team, and then everybody else. So now you at least have a player that will should go to the championship series that is good, that's phenomenal. The question I got for you is, there are some teams that are percolating. There are some teams that are bubbling that are not here, but are a player, a coach, ideology, a year of maturation away from being a special team. For you on the East Coast, what team is that?
I would probably roll with maybe Orlando. Probably would be my team. I think they need to go get a star, though. I think they need something that the team can be galvanized around, that can be that sun for all the players to accelerate the growth, the growth in this. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you need something to kind of get that. It's just, it's cool, but it's not, getting that momentum that it needs quite to be sustainable for a long period of time to be a dominant team. If they are able to grab one star, I think they could be okay. I think they could move from, maybe that 7-ish to maybe like a 3. Because I don't think it's that hard to do in the East. Like, I think from year to year, unfortunately in the East, whoever was maybe that 2 or 3 seed falls off the next year. And it's usually a drastic fall. Like, you watch Milwaukee this year, they were a dominant team. And now you're like, dude, like, what's going on with y'all? So I think the opportunity in the East to, move up a lot of spots is always available, because you have maybe like a team like Chicago that was supposed to be something, and, you lose Lonzo Ball, and it doesn't work out the way you planned. So, yeah, for me, it would be Orlando. I think they've been patient. I think they've managed the cap well. I think they have put themselves in position to say, okay, when that next person becomes available, we'll be in position to throw the money.
And I think it's attractive, too. I think that whole setup, playing in that state with how the state taxes are set up, I think that's a very attractive destination. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. The one thing that I'm going to say I disagree, but I think it's more full breadth, is that I don't think it's one team. I think Orlando's kind of like the dark horse.
Okay.
But then you have a situation like Philly, who, if Embiid doesn't get hurt this year, so, you feel me, like Embiid has a year like next year, it doesn't fall on a dude's leg and fucking shit off.
I got you.
That team is going to be completely different.
I don't even count them, though. I don't even look at them like that.
But then what's crazy is this: what if Milwaukee does the same thing that Dallas did next year, what Dallas did this year, in terms of those two stars that were
finally
thrown
gelling together,
finally gelling?
I think the only difference is the age of the players involved, and the fact that they've always been like alphas. Where we talked about Kyrie, where Kyrie is coming from a position where he tried to be the alpha.
He won, so he got slapped.
Yeah.
But
he got chin checked, and that's not what he wants.
But a Dame, we have to talk about who he is as a person that tried to remain loyal.
It didn't
so he might not have been slapped. Kyrie was a jack that had to be slapped to get humble.
Right.
Dame came in kind of already a loyal, humble type of dude. That it maybe takes that time. But there's another team, though. There's another team we're not thinking about.
Talk to me. Are they a dark horse for you?
Well, the reason why is because one of their best players is out this for the remainder of the season with the shoulder surgery. So we can't sit over here and gauge what their result is. We love what we see and the potential, but we can't really gauge what this team is without their man.
Randall.
That is it fair to say was maybe propelled them into the top 3 after the trade? Remember, he got hurt first or second game after the trade. And has been going since. What happens when all of them are together? We could sit over here and conceivably look up, and New York is number 3.
I agree with you, but I think it's only because how we talked about the East. Like the East is like anywhere from 3 to I'd say like 5 to 6. It can be a toss-up from year to year. It really can. You're always going to have a number 1 team. You're going to have Boston. I feel like Milwaukee for the longest part. Now Milwaukee's fallen apart a little bit. They've fallen off. But I've always put the Knicks in that because I'm like, just the East is just not that. It's not real top-heavy. It's a lot of fluffer teams with maybe 2 top-heavy teams every year.
But can the East become more hefty with more girth? With teams maturing, with Milwaukee and these 2 players now learning. So that's a different team than what we're talking about this year. Assuming Celtics do the same thing next year, because they're a team that's been put together, they're going to be even better. But you got Giannis and Dame working better together. Right. You got Embiid back, doesn't get hurt. Maxey's now playing with his chest out, and he's ready to go. A different level of game. Yeah. And then you got New York. But then Halliburton and Indiana.
We didn't even talk about them guys.
And then you're Orlando. Yeah. So you understand how that like I'm seeing that it ain't that far off from being cracking. Right. Like all of them are like 1 year away, and now we go from 1 team cracking to 5 teams, 6 teams cracking just like that.
True.
Just like that. True. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a gang of young good teams. Now that you bring, I didn't even think about the Pacers in there, but I don't. If I compare them to the West, like the meat and potatoes is still different from me. You know, it's a lot more hefty out west than it is out east. No disrespect.
But did you see how the East could be heftier? Maybe not heftiest.
Yeah, it will never. It's
not or as hefty.
But I can see a lot of, like I said,
they can go 5, 6 deep and 6 being not a punk. Whether it's Orlando with 1 more player, whether it's Indiana with 1 more player, whether it's New York fully healthy, whether it's Philly fully healthy, whether it's motherfucking Milwaukee. Figuring it out, or the Celtics, like that whole deal, just like that. Boom.
We shall see. We shall see. Like we said,
we gonna see some shit, and there's a whole lot coming. I appreciate you. It
all
was
the time,
a great show. All the time. We got a chance to talk about some real shit. And I hope y'all had the opportunity to sit over and understand that we get deeper. We can keep it 100. You're going to sit over here and feel the game, and we ain't going to be on that surface shit.
That's knowledge.
Yeah, so appreciate y'all. Appreciate you. My dude.
Oh, man, I do one more.
Yeah, one more.
Yeah.
See y'all next week.
For sure.
Hey, next week, we're going to be right there with the cusp of the playoffs. Can't wait. We're going to talk about it next week. See you next week.
All right.
Like, subscribe, and download ATV Media Network. Baby.
Yeah.